Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It's December 23rd of 2025. It's our last regular episode of the year. We won't have any chapters to recap next week. So this is just kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
We did it, I guess.
Now, I noticed that you said December 23rd. So that's a mistake, right? The Christmas isn't 2 days away, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, God. I have so much still to do.
Yeah. I've actually been better this year about it than I usually am. Because, sometimes I don't start my shopping until like 3 days before I'm supposed to have all the gifts. And I'm like, I was so lazy. This year I had a couple weeks left when I finally got it all done.
I mean, I applaud. That's fantastic. There are a couple people in my life who are going to be receiving late Christmas gifts because I just didn't realize it until like maybe a week left before Christmas. I was like, well, that's just not going to get here in time. Yeah. That's just how it's going to be.
What can you do?
Thankfully, I was going to say they're people I don't care about, but I do care about them immensely. So I want that to be very clear.
I appreciate having you in my life, but not enough to to get you something to express that.
Well, look again. I'm milking this school card for as long as I can. I'm like, you don't understand. I was so busy with school. I was working hard to make the dean's list. I didn't really because by the time my finals were done, I mean, you weren't gonna beat shipping at that point.
I had so much studying to do.
I had so much, and then. Anyways, happy birthday, Mom, or Christmas, whatever. And then I throw a gift at her.
Yeah. I definitely do remember, like, when I was in school, like, occasionally being like, so I'm in school, come on. Not just for, like, Christmas stuff, but, like, trying to get as much out of it as I could for, like, excuses for, like, not wanting to do things. I was like, no, I've got to study.
I genuinely do have to, like... I have been like too busy to have a social life for the most part in the past couple months, but it has also been nice when I'm like, you get an invite to an event, you're like, I don't really want to go to this, and I'll just say that I have to focus on schoolwork right now. No one can get angry about that. It's like second below, like I have a child, like I have to take care of them instead.
Yeah, they have no rebuttal. What are they gonna do?
Yeah, not wish for my educational future.
I got through a lot of that before I just generally realized that I was just a very antisocial person. Like I did it for so many years without even realizing like how naturally I just withdrew into my cave at any given opportunities. Well, I don't have any way of transitioning from caves to talking about manga, but maybe there was a cave that Descaris went into in order to get one of her magics.
It's all and all the magic. What place has more magic than a cave, Nick? That's where the Cave of Wonder, Mystic Cave from Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Mewtwo, you fought in a cave. Caves where all the magic happens when you think about it.
Yeah, all the magic that famously happens in Pokemon, yes. Ichi the Witch, 64th Hunt Promise, featuring Descaris with very pretty looking eyes and all of her magic gemstones kind of coming off of her. We get a little introduction to the Fatal Shot magic, seemingly the first magic that Descaris ever acquired, given how fucking tiny she is when she encounters it. And the Fatal Shot magic is just gonna like, what are you doing here, kid? What's going on? And the Fatal Shot magic has an interesting trial, which is you actually have to control me. Like, I'm going to point my hand and you actually have to aim my shot to go through a bullseye on that mountain peak over there. And the magic explains that it usually takes like 10 years just to hold the stance properly. And the trial requires incredible amounts of focus and physical strength and marksmanship. Basically, you got no shot at this kid. And cut to Descaris like in a little crater on the ground, looking more like Ichi than she ever has in this series.
I was
So
gonna say she has some strong Yamcha energy through this chapter. A lot of like laying immobilized in craters.
So the fatal shot magic then says, like, most normal witches actually just pass out when they touch me because all their magic energy just drains in an instant. You actually held on for like 10 seconds. You have a lot of potential. And Deskra says, I'll come back later. And she does visibly age a tiny bit, but it does not take her like 10 years in order to master this. She does keep on coming back and coming back and coming back. And the fatal shot magic is blown away by how well she has adapted, and says, I have existed for 500 years and I've never met anyone with the talent that you do. And Descar's just like, I'm trying to concentrate. Shut up.
Shut up, idiot.
So the fatal shot magic asks her, why are you in such a hurry to walk the thorny path required to acquire my power? And Deskra says, so I can be the greatest. I'm gifted enough to be the world's most powerful witch. And the fatal shot magic says, you are arrogant. Yes, very human. And Deskra says, no, I'm doing it because I made a promise to my dumb little brother. And at that moment, the fatal shot magic takes an actual curiosity in her and asks what her name is. And after Descaris gives her name, the fatal shot magic says, it is a pleasure, Descaris, to call you my master and the world's greatest witch. And we see the failed shot magic unleash its shot, and yeah, Descaris passes the trial. And honestly, I could have come out of the flashback there. What a cool little, short little look into her past.
Also, interesting how she shoots it. It isn't like, oh, like I shot like a laser at it, it's patinged. It's like quartered, and then so is the mountain underneath it.
Mm-hmm. It's a precise shot, and then there's also just the fallout from it, basically.
Yeah, it's sort of like firing like a mini nuke in Fallout, where you're like, this is gonna take a lot of precision to make sure I fire this right, and that I also don't die from this.
Then we see her meet the piercer magic, which requires her to sit upon the tip of one of her needles unmoving for 100 days straight. Love Descaris's hair in the very brief shot we get of her doing that. And then her owl buddy is the confession magic, and says that its trial is 1,000 questions. If even one of your answers displeases me, then your head will fly. We don't get to see any of the questions, which would have been interesting, I think. And I wonder if we'll ever go back to that, because that seems very intriguing to me. And then just several more magics. And as Descaris is progressing through and acquiring magics, she thinks faster, stronger, more power. I will be the greatest. And comes back into the present, where, of course, she's taking on Hitsugi's trial, killing a whole bunch of corpses in a very cool 2-page action spread, just easily butchering all these things with all sorts of different spells. And Hitsugi still is clearly not worried about this, but by how much bloodshed she is unleashing, and observes, you're less a witch and more a demon. And Descaris just goes, all right, whatever. You're calling me the demon, and it's rich coming from you. And she's like, this feels really gross. Like, I am feeling it when I cut down through all these corpses, but I'm still going to do it. I'm going to endure it. I will cut them down. I will stab them. I'll shoot them, and I will ignore all my pain and anguish, whatever I have to do, pass whatever trial they give me, because I made a promise to be the greatest there is. And she calls upon the fatal shot magic and says, I'm going to finish off this gross excuse for a trial, and starts getting set to say the incantation to unleash her shot. And then a voice says, Big Sis. That gets her attention, and of course, she looks through the crowd and spots a figure. And we go into another flashback to when her brother Libro was alive and was like, "Oh man, you're so cool. You're the best. Catching all the bad magics, saving suffering people. I wish I could be a witch too, so you be one for me. Be the greatest ever. Promise." And we come out of that to the present where Libro's body is as it was when he died, killed by the warping of the world hater magic. And as he approaches, Descaris' sword trembles in her hand. And that's our chapter.
Yeah, I like it as a fun little exploration, a little bit more detail on who Descaris is without giving too much away. I assume the actual event that caused her little brother to get warped is something we will explore at some point in time down the line. But it's nice to actually get to see a little bit more of Descaris, get to see how she acquired some of these magics. It's weird, like, I really do have like a kinship to this confession owl who I don't know if he'll ever actually successfully manage to like force someone to confess. Usually everyone resists or they just say what it is anyway, but I really do like him. And I like just seeing all these different magics that we've seen her, some of them she's used, some of them I don't know if we've seen, like, I guess we have seen her use the dragon. I don't know about maybe the chakrams. I don't know if we've seen her use those, but
I don't know about that. I feel like we've seen the piercing at numerous points, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like we saw the cage one as well, but I'm blanking on when she used that. But yeah, I think there's like some legitimately really cool like world building, teasing out moments. I like the fatal shot magic just being like this weird master is like, oh yeah, here's an incredibly hard trial. But it also gives like a fun context when you remember what Hitsuki said of like a magic's trial is like proportional to how much it wants to be involved in humanity. So the fact that the fatal shots magic was like extremely difficult but still possible shows why it perhaps had so much interest in why Descaris was so focused on it. And I think that's like a fun detail to look into. And just in general, Descaris gets to look really cool before like, oh, hey, the emotional thing that's going to make this actually a challenge for Descaris.
Yeah. I also like how the fatal shot magic is like, you hear that description and you probably think of something that looks nothing like what it looks like, which is this kind of like angelic bride almost.
It has like a ruffled veil and is basically just kind of lots of ruffles, really. Its entire like body, like front part is just ruffles essentially. Very delicate, or decadent rather. And delicate.
Two cool hands that come out.
And they look like are they covered in tattoos or like a design?
They look like they're tattooed, but it could be like, anything. Yeah. Like maybe the designs are like swirling through the hands or something.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, really, really cool stuff. I think it was a very fun chapter.
Yeah, I liked it, and I hope that Descaris doesn't get too much drama.
I'm really curious to see what her reaction is going to be, because we have seen Descaris be vulnerable in moments, but we've yet to see her really be too vulnerable in like action moments. Like I'm very curious.
In a combat scenario, she's usually kept it together.
So yeah, I'm very curious to see if this is going to be like too much for her, or if she's just going to chop that kid's head off next chapter to open it up and be like, this doesn't actually bother me that much.
Told you I would do it. Fuck you. Quinn, do you mind taking us through Blue Box?
Yeah, let's talk about Blue Box. This is chapter 224, Best Friends.
Best Friends.
So, we're still in the little middle school flashback with Hina, Taiki, and Kyo. And they've made it to the cake shop. And they're debating about which cakes they should get. And like the question is eventually like, oh, wait, where are we going to eat these cakes? And they settle on eating them in a park. I don't know if it's Kyo or Taiki who says there's nothing like cake eaten outdoors, which I guess I don't I don't know if I've really had that experience before.
Well, I guess that. You never go to a birthday party at like a public park or anything where you can like rent out the awnings and stuff?
I didn't really have birthday parties growing up, but no, sure. I guess I could theoretically imagine it. I think there's a little bit different though of that, or just like walking there with like a cake you got from a bakery, being like, oh, I'm just gonna chow down. But it probably makes more sense in a country that's more walkable, like Japan.
True.
So yeah, they're gonna go chow down over there. Hina has a moment where she calls these cakes crazy cute, and the boys are like, why is she calling a cake cute? No,
we're gonna eat that. We're gonna destroy that thing.
They have absolutely no idea. But Taiki asks Hina if she would like a bite of his cake. And he's like, you wanted to try this one too, didn't you? So we'll split it.
Aww.
There's a moment of Hina looking on, kind of like, aw, you're such a nice guy. But in the moment, it seems as though it meant a little bit more to her. Because while they're going home playing the game where someone says a word and then the next person has to say something like another word starting with the last letter of the previous one, they're going through and they pass by a couple.
Apparently, like making up words occasionally.
No, when you talk about swash, everyone knows what a swash is. Like a swash.
Well, they specifically call out torschalker.
They pass by a couple of schools, like high school students or middle school students who are like a couple, and Hina, perhaps already with romance on the brain, says, oh, that reminds me. And she starts talking about two of their classmates who are now kind of going out with one another. And they're like, oh, yeah, they were always into each other. And Hina wonders aloud, she's like, I wonder how it's different from being best friends.
I like how Taiki is just going like,
yeah. He has no idea.
I'm a 12-year-old boy. What are you talking about?
Kyo, with some more introspection, says, I think if I had someone I liked, I'd want to protect them. And I do like the question of like, what would you protect them from in this peaceful world? And it's like, yes, in the blue box world, there is nothing to protect them from. There's the most sinister a person could be is misunderstood slightly. So there is a moment though of Kyo being like, you know, for example, if an upperclassman was giving them a harder time, you know, if we were just friends, I'd give them advice or offer them some kind of strategy. But if it's a person I like, then I'd probably put myself in between them and the person that was trying to, you know, bully them. And he gets compliments like, oh, what a grown-up answer you've given. And Taiki's like, I wonder if I could ever get strong enough to even think about wanting to protect someone. And his friends...
Taiki did do that with Chinatsu even before they started dating. Mm-hmm. There was like when they were out and... there was a couple of guys trying to hit on her, and he just kind of like got in the way until they went away. So
yeah, his friends are both like, we know you'll get there, Taiki.
You would do it. You're too stupid not to do that when the time comes.
Hina has to split off from them, so she's saying her goodbyes, and Taiki finishes by being like, hey, it made me really happy that you'd get mad about your friend being treated like poop like that, so thanks. And she goes off to, you know, head home. And Taiki and Kyo pass by their coach, who's really, really mad. He's like, you guys were hanging out. I invited you to this tournament. Like, unless you devote every single second and minute to practicing, you're never going to get stronger. Why, back in my day, we used to do this thing all like he is giving the most...
Uphill both ways in the snow, we'd play badminton.
Yeah,
It was prime weather for practicing badminton.
I used to have to practice badminton while I was working the factories, and I was doing that from when I was 7. I lost 3 fingers doing a smash while I was operating the slashing machine.
You've got all your fingers, though. I went into that machine and I got them back.
I'm not losing the set to no damn machine, I'll tell you that.
You were playing badminton against the machine?
Yeah, it was the badminton factory. You gotta devote every second to badminton.
Once you know how the shuttlecocks is made, then you'll know how to badminton good.
Taiki, basically, like, you know, Kyo tries to interrupt by being like, excuse me, you know, sir, all that. And Taiki just says, all right, let's do it. Like, let's play right now.
Calls the bluff.
And the coach is like, oh, I was just playing in a tournament. I can't really.
Let's go right now, and you gotta leave us alone if we fucking beat your ass, old man.
Yeah. So he's, he's like, oh, well, I was just playing a tournament. He's like, great. So let's have a match. He's like, oh, no, I mean. And Kyo takes this moment and jumps in on it too. He's like, yeah, in that case, we'll play against you, coach. And if we win, then you have to revamp the practice. And you need to, stop singling out Taiki and all these things. And we see them play a game. They beat their coach. They're like high-fiving afterwards. I don't know if they did it 2-on-1 or what exactly.
I really hope so.
I really hope they were like, well, it's a handicap match too, dog.
This is bullshit. What the hell?
I already played a match and I have to play two of you?
Guess you should have played against 2 badminton machines when you were younger.
That's what my grandpa always told me. He said, you whippersnappers have it easy. Back in my day, I had to work 2 jobs in the badminton factory. So back in the present, Kyo is thinking about this, and he's like, I always thought Taiki was cool. Where most people would pull back, Taiki would step forward. And in that moment, Taiki scores another point. And, everybody's starting to kind of rally around, and Taiki's now thinking about Kyo and how, Kyo always sees the big picture. He'll turn a situation around with ideas that I never would have thought of, and he really considers people and understands their feeling and tries to build them up. So, he's helped me out countless times. And then just to, I guess, complete the trifecta of the friendship circle that the flashback was about, Taiki also takes a moment to think about Hina a little bit in this moment where he's like, and Hina, when she puts her mind to something, she takes the initiative more often than I ever could. It's crazy. She has the strength to shrug off any minor damage. And, the way it's shown is that Taiki, an eager boar, right alongside Hina, who's just a dump truck.
I do appreciate that there is a little insert from Hina, which is just rude. Don't call me a dump truck.
Why am I a dump truck in your scenario? Why can't I just be a faster animal than you are?
Nope, dump truck.
So Taiki explains, yes, Hina cuts through the wind for me, and Kyo pushes me from behind. Just like when we used to ride bikes and Hina was in the front and Kyo was in the back. I'm like, all right, Taiki, you're starting to lose the analogy here a little bit, but whatever. It's a very sweet sentiment. He's
I don't know. It seems to be working for him. He seems to be winning the badminton match more now that he's thinking in bad metaphors. So,
was this the series where he had some awful metaphor about milk sometime?
I don't know.
I just remember there's some awful metaphor at one point that I was like, I don't think that one works. Taiki scores another point. He's starting to kind of increase his lead. It's 5 points ahead. He already has the first set. It's not looking great for Kyo, but Taiki's like, nope, my friend's not getting tired. He's nowhere near done. And the game continues as we end the chapter. The 2 boys are still playing, and Ayame is smiling, watching on.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like some of the cute details in the flashback of this. I do agree that kind of the transition into bringing it into the present and tying it together is a little bit awkward and doesn't fully work for me. But even so, it's nice to just see oh, yeah, these guys have been not just friends for a while, but also just really good and dependable friends for a while. Yes. And that's just a sweet little thing. And I just love that that this coach gets his just desserts getting beaten by a 12-year-old.
2 of them.
Well,
again, we don't really know for sure. We just see them both high-fiving afterwards, so I really do love the idea.
Yeah, that was a fair match.
Yeah, really fun stuff there. I like this chapter of Blue Box, even though... Again, I think it's a little... I understand Taiki would be thinking about her to some extent because of the kiss still being maybe subconsciously on his mind. But it is wild that in this active match, he is still thinking of both of his friends and why he admires them so much. I appreciate that he has those thoughts, but I am in my mind being does Taiki have the time to also be Hina's pretty cool too, thunk. Like, when I get down to it, she's like a real dump truck, thunk. Not in her body, though. That'd be a disrespectful way to think about her. I'm just thinking about her if she was like, to be like, symbolized in something. She's like a dump truck, pushing forward, ever forward.
Isn't she like a butterfly? Nope.
No, like a dump truck. Flap. Another point for Tyke. He's like, afterwards, he's like, actually, Kyo's kind of easy to beat. I can just think about other things while I'm whooping his ass. It's not that bad.
Someone goes over to Hina afterwards. I don't know if he's attracted to you, honey. He thinks you're a dump truck.
He has,
I've got a dump truck ass? No.
Oh,
not
Hina.
even that.
Oh, Hina. I'm so sorry, but no. Yeah.
All right.
Good chapter.
Gang, we're going to go out of that good chapter into another good chapter because it's time for our monthly dose of Boruto.
Fuck me. Man. I forgot to open this.
Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, Chapter 29, Pest Control, featuring Boruto. Fucking button your shirt up, man. You don't look cool. Get a job. Oh, God. So Boruto had this whole thing where he was going to try and convince the Otsutsuki to work with him, and he's like, oh, I promise I'll turn over my body to you if we take Jura down. The guy's like, I mean, you can't hide anything from me. We occupy the same brain space. So I'm pretty sure that, you're going to just count on me getting killed by Kawaki as soon as that happens. But anyway, we've got the same goal. Let's go kill these guys. So now Boruto can use the karma against all these Mawashi guys. And let me tell you something, Quinn. The first guy that he attacks, I did not need to know that Mawashi, of all characters, had a tight ass. I did not need to know that about his character design. Why do I have to see this? I don't understand. Look, I will say, if you are an artist out there, design your characters however you wish. But don't design this character like this, okay?
In a way, it does make the character a little disturbing, which is probably the point, but in that same respect, it's a unique design to be like, yeah, he's wearing kind of like a onesie that really shows off the glutes, okay. The guy was, his Trisona is from an old man, so this guy's got some tight glutes.
Yeah. So, anyway, after that, we get action and action. Fighting. One of them gets stabbed through the eyes. Some more get blown up. Some heads get cut off. Just fighting. Oh, okay. Look, it's not bad for the most part. It's nothing interesting to comment on. Just a bunch of fighting. They're killing up a bunch of clones of the same guy while they do nothing.
The action's somewhat more interesting because, and I thank God someone in our Discord remembered this. They established that you gotta kill, you gotta destroy the eyes or else it'll just keep duplicating. So there is a lot of kind of somewhat satisfying eye violence in this chapter. Everyone just runs up and stabs shit through these guys' eyes. I do need to say though, to this point, all of the, I forget what this group's called, but the tree people, all that stuff is mostly been built as a threat. Hey, these things are dangerous. It takes multiple members to take even one of these guys down. Not Musashi. These things suck. They're like putties. You just run through and you stab 7 of them and just take them out.
Oh my God. All right. So then from there, while this is happening, the investigator dude with the hair streaks is interrogating Mitsuki, and he says, one more thing. Those sealing jutsu cuffs that were used on Boruto, yeah, it's been confirmed there's nothing wrong with them. No malfunction. Can you believe that? That means that the impact couldn't have caused them to open. What do you think about that? See, based on the evidence, Mitsuki, we've got no choice but to conclude that you intentionally unlocked them. And Mitsuki just kind of stares at him. And so he says, but that begs a question because you don't have the right authority. So someone who knows the 4-digit code must have given it to you. And Konohamaru is just there while this is happening. So he's like, they're on to me. Because he's like, there's 3 people who know the code. Me, Ibiki, and Shikamaru. So if Mitsuki and Mitsuki was complicit, then that means that they're going to find out that Shikamaru was involved. And then Nishi, the sensory ninja, shows up. He's just like, oh, Saratobi, you still here? You didn't know where someone was! That's all that we know about you! That's all that your character is!
In my mind, Ikemoto drew and writes this character exclusively based off someone he hates. Like, there's someone he's like, this guy is the biggest fucking idiot I know. I'm going to put him in Boruto. And all he's going to do, his one job is to track things and know where things are. And he's never going to know where a goddamn thing is, period. That's his entire character. Also, Aaron Gray has a great point, too. This is an elite ninja academy. There's a 4-digit code to get out of these hicks. Like, you can brute force a 4-digit code.
You could deliver. There are so many movies out there, TV shows, children's TV shows, where they're like, let me just get out my makeup powder kit. I know the code now when it's a 4-digit code. Oh, God. So... Konohamaru, while he's running to Nishi, says, actually, there's something I forgot to mention to Lord Kobu. And Nishi's like, okay. Sai gets contact from the other members of the sensor unit. And so he talks with Shikamaru through all their communication ninja stuff because there's all these, fucking divine tree people running around that Boruto is fighting. And so Sai's like, hey, what the hell's going on? And Shikamaru's like, yeah, okay. In case things escalate, make sure that Mitsuki gets released. And Sai's like, that's going to piss off Lord Kobu if I do that. And Shikamaru's like, tell him it's Okage's orders, state of emergency.
Okay.
All right.
Can you remind me of something, Nick? Not that I want us to dwell in Boruto longer. Is there a reason, and I think there is, I'm just forgetting it, why can't they just, like, why does it matter if they're like, well, but the Lord Eighth will be implicated in this? Be like, then just say that you're pretty sure some fucking magic shit happened that switched Boruto and Kawaki around. Like, you have people at this point, like, you have, like, multiple high-level members of Konoha who can all vouch for this. Like, it's this... Is it some shit with, like, the council? Isn't there, like, a council of just, like, dudes?
There's, like, a council of elders, and if they think Shikamaru's not trustworthy, he'll be, like, removed from power, so he's got to, play politics.
Is that how the Hokage position in Boruto has always worked?
Allegedly.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was a late Naruto thing where that became an actual point of concern because they wanted to have the Land of the Leaves have committed war crimes and stuff like that, but not implicate the Hokages that were supposed to be good guys, as in there was always these secret police guys Dabi and stuff like them who were actually responsible for them and stuff, and so he had a high position but he was never Hokage, blah 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 blah.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so the Momashi guys are running around still. People are running around to fight. So Lord Kobu is still interrogating Mitsuki, and he's like, how did you know the release code? And Konohamaru comes in, he's like, excuse me, I forgot to tell you something earlier. Sorry, I didn't actually set the code on the cuffs. My bad. Boruto's cuffs were never locked to begin with, so Impact could have opened them without the release code.
I love Konohamaru sucks so much. He's like, what do I do? What do I do? I need to get out of this ninja situation in the best way possible. He walks like, I forgot to lock the cuffs.
I am going to tell the least believable lie that also makes me look like a fucking idiot. Like, you are damned if this works and if it doesn't work.
Honestly, and it's probably just not gonna work, but you still look dumber afterwards because your excuse for like why it's going on is like, sorry, I'm incredibly stupid and forgot to lock the handcuffs on the most wanted criminal in our nation right now.
Now, Konohamaru psychically talks with Mitsuki through the communication link and says, I know that you set Boruto free and that Shikamaru gave you the code. So if that came to light, he could be removed as Hokage. So I can't let that happen, basically. So the idea here is, okay, if I just take the fall for this, it's better for me to do so than for Shikamaru to do so. Fortunately, this clever investigator character that we were just introduced to sees through the worst lie I've ever heard of and says, you're really bad at lying.
I hope you're better in bed because you're truly not going to win any awards for your smarts. He's like, actually, I'm not good there either. And it's like, well,
actually, it turns out there's someone who's been in love with me for like literally our entire lives, and I just never picked up on it. Like,
I only figured it out when her Trisona decided to like attack me with her crazy crush, and that's when I started...
even then, someone had to tell me ahead of time what she was trying to do.
God, Konohamaru fucking sucks.
So Lord Kobu is just kind of like, all right, fucking bring the Hokage in here. I'm going to interrogate it. Like, did Konohamaru roll like 2 nat ones on his bluff check?
He doesn't even try. It's just like, all right, bring the Hokage. It's him like, ooh, he's got me there. It's like, you tried the worst plan, and then you're like, I'm out of ideas. What am I going to do?
More fighting happens. More Mawashi clones. Paralysis jutsu gets unleashed by Shikadai, and he rug tugs them onto the ground, where Chocho splats them with her giant hand. And Inojin's like, yeah, we're on a roll. And Kashin Koji has an ellipses next to him for the final panel.
He knows more that he's
something's not going to go great in the future.
It's probably not going to go that bad either. Yeah, Boruto's not great. I also like how she slaps a bunch of them at the end, and I'm like, wasn't there a whole thing about the eyes? I don't think they got that memo, though, so maybe in her mind she's just like, I did it! I killed all of them! I killed that old man twice!
All right. Chainsaw Man! Chapter 224, Moon, Spear! So I'm actually a little bit disappointed with the technique that Yoru unleashes. It's crazy, I'll give you that. But she says, I'll turn the American flag in the moon into a spear. We cut to the flag and it's, yep, that's a spear now.
Yep.
And she says, and I'll turn America's claim to the moon into a homing system. I feel like you could have done more with it than that, but all right, fine.
Fair enough. We've got a homing flag from the moon coming at Denji. I also like, and as kind of will be a trend through some of Asa's facial expressions, her one eye's just kind of like drifting up. Like she is kind of have like losing control. Like she is kind of screaming at this point, and it feels like you could kind of see the facade starting to slip on her a little bit.
Oh, it's been slipping for a little while now. So the spear chases Denji around. It gets the lion devil off of Denji's armor, and again it just goes, Yoru! Never have these devils looked so like pathetically adorable before. So Yoru is mad at Denji, and Denji's like, how was that my fault? It was your spear that did that. The spear keeps on chasing Denji. It goes through buildings trying to come after him, and Yoru's like, it's gonna keep on going after you until you accept defeat. And Denji's like, oh, hang on. I had a light bulb moment just now. I'm a genius. School! And so he starts to go to the school building, He gets impaled by the spear and it smashes through the window. And Yoru is like, oh, you've been using my friends as a shield. Run it from me. You're lower than a devil. But if I get even one glimpse of you yielding, then I win. Serves you right. I'll turn you into a weapon, Denji. I'll set the humans against each other, and I'm going to enjoy my perfect world. She face plants. And Yoru goes, why did I trip? I'm not Asa. Which
that's just the rule. Asa trips, not Yoru.
And then when she pushes herself up, she thinks, how was I moving until just now? Because she hasn't got legs anymore. And Denji laughs. Yoru demands to know what he did. And Denji says, oh, I forget her name and face now. But that chick who flashed me her panties, that's so undignified, Denji. Come on.
It legitimately took me a minute, too, to even remember who that was. Because I'm like, half the women Denji meets has some like pseudo-sexual encounter with them at some point. I don't remember all of them individually.
But he reveals that when he was acting like he would work with Lil D, she gave me a whole bunch of devil pawns. All these tiny little devils for him to use as snacks so that he can get their blood and rev back up. So presumably he ate the leg devil just now. And so nobody's got legs no more. Just like when, he took away ears before. And, Denji says, I don't know what I ate, but I need the blood. I'm going to keep on eating them. So you better give back Asa's body or I'm going to mess up your perfect world. And Yoru doesn't just say, stop it. She says, stop it! Because these are two children fighting with godlike powers now.
It truly is the silliest of conflicts where Denji's like, all right, maybe I can't win, but I'm just going to eat everything in this world and erase it from existence until your world kind of sucks and it's not worth having anymore.
Yep. He's just going to ruin it. And,
It's silly, but it is fun. I do wish they had done something more interesting with the America's claim to the moon, as you mentioned. But I do think it is a fun escalation to be like, yeah, legs don't exist anymore. Amongst other things, who knows what the fuck else Denji's eating? Even he doesn't seem to know what he's chowing down on, so...
This is going to be like how we end up with Undead Unluck World at the beginning of that series before all the rules come in.
Yeah, that would be wild. If Chainsaw Man at the end, it's like, for the rest of the story, please read Undead Unluck. I'm like, wait, really? Nick, let's move on to talk about Dandadan, Chapter 221, Ken's Conflict. So we pick up last time where Momo and Okarun are currently in the midst of a childish fight over the fact that...
This is very serious business, Quinn. There's nothing childish about this at all.
Momo saying, no way, I'm not going to go on a date with you. And Okarun's like, I didn't even want to go on a date. That was just a joke.
Joking.
I was joking. Can't you tell a joke? I'm going to get out of here, basically. And
Momo's just like, see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I feel like Momo's like, see you tomorrow, Takakura. Interestingly, I guess maybe Takakura is a common enough a name that Momo doesn't pick up on that. But she
knows his full name now.
Does she in this?
Actually, she might not know his full name is Ken Takakura. She definitely knows Takakura. I don't know if she knows he's Ken Takakura yet.
Yeah. So,
but she heard it back when they were at the school.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, that's right. Momo just asks, like, Momo, why are you angry about this guy? As Okarun is, like, walking off, and he's just beating himself up. He's like, why did you do that? Like, you know,
so stupid. Why'd you do that?
I'm such an idiot. I said I was going to be, like, proactive, but that was rude. I shouldn't have done that. She probably thinks I'm an idiot. You're a total doofus. I'm just a cree. Just, like, goes off on his whole thing. And then the next morning he goes to visit Manjiro, and he's like, hey, I figured out how to use the club. I discovered something really, really important. And he's like, all your training, it all made sense. And Manjiro's like, what are you talking about? You want to do some cleaning right now? And he's like, no, I wanted to show you the club. And he activates it, the chi channels through it. And Manjiro's like, that's incredible. I've never seen anything like that before. How are you doing that? And Okarun's like, wait, I just project my chi like always to extend the club. And Manjiro tries to do it. Nothing happens. Like, no use. I can't do it. And he's like, yeah, I don't understand how to do it. I have no idea. I got it, I have no idea what this thing even is. I just got it from Master as a protective talisman in the first place. So it's very incredible that you did this, Okarun. And Okarun is like, wait, what was all the cleaning stuff for then? And Mantra's
all the moves that gave me martial arts training.
Mantra was like, oh, those were just my chores. Actually, those were ones I was supposed to do. And Okarun's like, why did you make me do them then? What about the training? And he's like, oh, we haven't.
I was busy YouTubing.
Yeah, we haven't actually started your training yet. Cut to later in that day, Okarun finds Ira and Gigi, goes to talk to them, basically tells them how they had another attack from the aliens and how they managed to survive because of this weapon, but, neither of them have powers, so it was, very lucky that they even managed to survive. So he tries to bring up, like, hey, if you two could stick as close as you can to Momo, please. And they do get to establish as well, like, oh, well, Vimola wasn't there, and also, even if she was, her suit is out of order after the last fight, so she can't do anything right now. And they do bring up, like, oh, well, if she was able to perceive the aliens, then it must mean some part of her memory has come back. Nope, there hasn't. But Okarun does stop to be like, oh, I want you guys to try use this. He pulls out the Ogre Club and, like, starts to hand it to them. But on that moment, Vimola and Momo show up, and Momo makes a very public gesture out of giving Okarun the cold shoulder, which just starts a bunch of bickering between all of the people. Momo is complaining about how, you used your, winning the game to make me go on a date. You're such a creep. And that starts more conflict with the rest of them. So Momo is like, you came at me all thirsty for real. You looked me in the eye so desperately too. And Okarun's like, you're the one who started the staring competition. You started it, so you have to take responsibility for it. Ira's like, why would you have done that game with Momo? If you had just done it with me, everyone would be 100% happy. I promise you.
Everything would be happy if you just did it with me instead.
And Gigi adorably is like, what's this staring game where you get to go on a date if you win? Please tell me how to play. And he's doing like this childish like tantrum basically. And so
I fucking love the panel of all five of them like scuffling. It's so cute. I love it.
And Vimola pipes in to be like, trying to ever solve the conflict. She never wants her friends to be fine. Says, okay, well, let's all go on a date together then. And we don't actually really finish there. We just leave on a panel of the five of them kind of all staring into space, processing what just happened.
Yeah. I want to say before we move on, I think that Ira and Momo's scarves are adorable. I love them.
Yes. Cut over to a shopping mall where Rin and Shiratori are walking around, just hanging out, being friends, doing what two girls normally do, talking about which tropes
Vampires.
they like. Well, they're talking about what tropes they like in their steamy romance books, and that is honestly a vibe. I do know quite a few people who do communicate through those kinds of conversations.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're specifically talking about vampires, and Rin has to know. She's like, oh, which one do you like? Do you like pureblood, second generation, or thralls? Like, they're like going into the specifics of what they like in their tropes. And, Shiratori's like, oh, I guess I like thralls the most. Like, oh, yeah, thralls are weaker than purebloods or second gens, and it really hits you how they're unable to defy their masters. And then the lights go out, and it suddenly gets very dark. And in the distance, the two of them can see three mysterious figures. Ooh.
Yeah. I'm glad that we're getting these two keeping involved in the story. It's been a little while since we've seen them, and I'm glad to see them again. So maybe we'll get to see, like their power sets get even further defined. Maybe somebody else will come in. But yeah, just haven't gotten to see them in a little bit. Has Shiratori always had her bangs like that?
I mean, she has progressively been like changing the way she has her hair, so it's not always like in front of her face, making her look like the girl from The Ring or whatever. So, Yeah, I don't know if she's always had the long one, like, straight down the face, but she always has had it, and she's just parted it now to make it less creepy.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried for this, too, because it does feel like if you're going to include an element in your story where people can have power stolen from them if they surrender, at some point the heroes have to suffer a loss of that to show that it is effective, and I'm worried it's going to be one of the two of them in this upcoming encounter they're in here, because those
Entirely possible.
they're, I don't want to say disposable, but they're two of like the less priority characters who, like, if you take the powers, like, does it shift the story completely? I don't know.
I get what you mean. If there's anyone in the cast of heroes in Dandadan that you look at and you're like, they're the jobbers. It's probably around these guys. Yeah. Okay, but let's do some Spy Family. Chapter 120 or Mission 127, Part 1.
I hate this series and the way it numbers it. I can't stress enough. Chapter 127.1, Part 1. It's so annoying and confusing to me.
This isn't even like the beginning of a story. This is like
this is the
beginning
closing
of the end of the story. Yeah.
But it's Part 1 of
I don't
the end
know.
close. Like, what is this?
We see how Madame Schlag came in to save the day. We see the trail of destruction that she has left in her wake from Trinitrus bolting people in the head and disposing of the corrupt teachers. Like, so we see, all the students that, kind of like lost, got separated from the crew, like kind of gasping for breath as they see the teacher that they were scuffling with has been defeated. And she continues on hitting bad guys in the head with them. And we get repeated little visuals, little notes saying, by the way, the flashes and thunderclaps from her doing this, they're just metaphors. She's not actually doing this.
Metaphor. This is a metaphor. This is also a metaphor. Which is very funny when it's like some guy's throwing chalk like it's a bullet. That's not a metaphor.
No.
That's real.
She actually does that. They do like the fucking shooting each other's bullets thing from the Suicide Squad with chalk and Denitra's pulse. And yeah, she keeps on taking them out, and Becky is like, holy God, that was amazing. And then at that moment, one of the windows by the kids opens up and a couple of photos flutter in through it. And it turns out that these are the original photos that were doctored into that image of Mr. Henderson seemingly accepting a bribe. And it was all a setup. The actual fact is that Mr. Henderson was just really freaking out because he came across some tea leaves that were on sale. He was really happy.
I love that full image of like premium tea leaves and really cheap. And it's like, how
elegant.
It's so funny. Like, if you've ever I didn't realize this man loved a bargain as much as he does.
So Lloyd, of course, is the one who dropped these photos off for the kids to find without noticing that he was there. And he thinks to himself as he does so, like, I've got no doubt that Swan and his cronies are the ringleaders who hired the forger. Not a member of his fake family, but the photo forger. And of course, Anya, who could just read his mind, is like, oh, Papa was here.
I do truly appreciate the Spy Family like universe and how it is able to tell a story in that, like, normally there'd be like a lot of conflict, and if the characters solved the situation this easily, you'd be like, oh, that was a little bit weird. Like, all this information was literally just handed to them. But it makes sense in this universe when it's the children doing things, and Lloyd is like the most amazing spy in the universe that he could just jump by and be like, here's the information you need to win a case. Bye.
So at that moment, Becky realizes that Anya somehow has gotten her hands on the original photos, and Swan's like, wait, what? How did... what? How... Mishla keeps on taking out corrupt teachers and says to them that they need to take the pictures straight to Mr. Henderson, and says, slap them against his cowardly old cheeks and drag him back to the path of the educator. Aw, she does care.
Mm-hmm.
Swan tries to bribe Mishlag, which feels like a bad bet at this point. She has basically killed 20 of your men. And she says, as she picks up her next Citrus Bolt, which metaphorically crackles with electricity, when I was a child, I would get engrossed in reading myths and folk tales. In those stories, the people who were greedy or contemptuous usually got their comeuppance. I always loved that about them. Those stories taught me how the world should be. And now you will learn that lesson the hard way, you covetous swine!
And like her fist is crackling with lightning, and there's still a little note that's like, this is just a meta effect. It's not actually doing that.
Damien and co. race in order to get to Mr. Henderson. Damien actually calls up Jeeves so that they can get fucking helicoptered over to the Ministry of Education in time. And the kids all parachute down. They're all, of course, like 6. So they're strapped to the chests of like
Adults,
actual
yeah.
parachuters to do this. And Damien is, he's grimacing and yelling, Mr. Henderson! Becky is like, I don't want to die! And in the background, you can see Annie going, wee! Oh, man. People are freaking out because they're like, what the hell? Are paratroopers coming down? What's happening? And so Becky is really freaking out over what they've been through, and Anya's like, do it again.
Again.
You have to go inside and help Anya. So they race inside to stop Mr. Henderson from submitting his resignation. Martha and Henderson are both shocked, and Henderson is like, no, I'm still no longer fit. Look at this humiliating photograph. And Damien and Becky are both insisting.
That he's even like, after they're like, no, they're doctored photos. He's like, but everyone's seen how like weird I get when I see tea on sale, so I'm still gonna just retire, I guess.
Damien and Becky both insist, no, we want you to be our teacher. We worked so hard. We believe in ourselves all because of you. You've always saying that that people in history are built up over time, so you can't throw away what you've built up with us. That's not elegant. My one objection in all this sequence is that Henderson's words are translated as you kids, which feels like not nearly an elegant enough word choice for his character. But because he keeps on saying kids over and over, it's just kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
But he says all this. He says, oh, wow, he's reacting to this. And then Anya steps in and is like, I was the one who found the bad guys in the proof. Don't try and steal credit for yourselves. And then the three of them start bickering over who gets credit right in front of him before he has agreed not to retire. But fortunately, Martha is there, and she says, you said it yourself. Education's how we'll put an end to conflict. And Henderson's like, I mean, this isn't really what I had in mind. But he thinks what the young Desmond said a long time ago is like, we will never be free of war, and one shouldn't expect anything of those who have disappointed you once already. It's a preposterous. But then Henderson told him, like, isn't that a preposterous way to live? If we gave up on everyone and everything so quickly, that would be the end of human history. And so he admits that maybe he actually had forgotten why he became an educator. And so he turns to the person at the admin desk and says, my apologies, but might I ask you to make that paperwork disappear? It seems I do not have the option to say I'm weary, but I can at least strive to persevere long enough to see these children graduate from their from their elementary education. And the children are all happy, and Martha's like, okay, you don't have to make a grand proclamation over it. And then the guy at the desk says, I already processed your resignation, sir, while you were all talking. So we do get narration confirming that they were able to rescind it afterwards because, yes, that is how this kind of thing would work. But yeah, Henderson is going back to the academy after a lot of silly shenanigans. Hooray!
I like that Henderson and Martha both get to look very panicked, though, for a moment when they're like, wait, no, he made the right decision. You're supposed to take it back.
Funny chapter.
Yeah.
Very, very funny.
Absolutely. Nick, it's Hima-Ten, number 72,
yeah,
Heroin on the Slopes.
Don't you mean Hima-72, Quinn?
Hima-72. That's actually the new name of the series, Hima-72. Every
Just
week the series name
They're
changes.
never going to be able to market this series if they keep on changing the name like this.
Yeah, it's awful. Not since Shippuden and people have been so confused. Iamori, I wanted to call him Taichi, but he's not Taichi, he's Iamori, is thinking like, it's kind of right about me not being able to keep my cool. And, he thinks back to her saying like, oh, it's so obvious. It's the one good thing I got today. And he's like, I mean, of course I can't. Like, how am I supposed to keep level-headed in this situation? Everything's so crazy. Like, and I can't just like her in return because I've always liked Kanai. In the past, it doesn't compare to now, but I do have memories that just made me as happy. And he thinks about, he's looking at the ski trip photo from his middle school field trip. And he thinks about 2 years ago as his dad is teaching him how to cook. And he's like trying to wipe his eyes with like, as he's cutting onions. But his dad's like, hey, don't use the hand with the knife in it to wipe your eyes, please. And he's like, my other hand's covered in onion juice. What am I supposed to do? And then he starts burning the eggs. And his dad's just like, this is how it is. But I've got a big job transfer coming up. So the house is going to be yours, basically. And, we basically just see that, his dad leaves for his transfer. And, Iamori's at school. But he is feeling the stress of now suddenly being kind of responsible for the house. Why am I blanking on her name? Honoka?
Honoka.
Yeah, I don't know why I wanted to call her Hamori or something like that. I wanted to mix her name and Himari, I think.
Yeah, that's the ship name, I guess.
Yeah. A very exciting ship. Honoka comes in, says like, hello, and he's like, oh, Iamori. He does the awkward
Well, it's been real cold lately, hasn't it?
Yeah, he's like trying to make small talk, so he just abruptly is like, it's been really cold recently, hasn't it? And she's like, yeah, it's supposed to snow this week. Conversation done. Neither of them have anything else to say. And then Mayu shows up and is like, oh, morning, Honoka. You're so red. What happened? And it's good to know this girl has always been a shit stirrer trying to push this girl into a relationship. But it's like, oh, you're not sick, are you? The flu's been going around. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And they note, hey, you gotta stay focused because tomorrow's going to be the big day. We're going on the big ski trip. And, because Iamori and Hanukkah's attendance numbers are near each other.
Hanukkah?
Whatever. Hanukkah, they're gonna be in the same group, basically. And Taiki just kind of notes, he's like, honestly, I don't have the time to really think about all this stuff right now. And, his friend's like, oh, because your dad was, transferred. And he's like, yeah, I feel like when my dad left, he took my sense of stability along with him, which is a brutal and very authentic feeling to feel in that kind of moment. It's like,
when you're 12 years old, that's a lot to deal with. Like, holy shit, like one of my parents is just gone. Like, obviously there's not any marital strife that has happened. We know that they're still a very happy family, but he's not fucking around at all. And Iamori has been very suddenly thrust into this role of basically having to feel like a half parent role when he's been a kid up to this point.
And he also just doesn't feel confident in the skills he's going to be expected to showcase going forward. We saw prior to this, he's not a great chef yet. So he's like, maybe if I was better at chores, I'd feel more confident about all of this. And, his friend's like, well, you're not doing it alone. What about your mom? And it's like, yeah, but she works. My dad was the one who did all the chores. It's like, well, now's the time to take your mind off it. Just think about enjoying snowboarding tomorrow. But then Iamori heads home, and his mom is in a panic. His two younger siblings both caught the flu, and they're both very, very sick right now.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like,
the 104.
Over 104 degrees. That's bad.
Yes. So it's really, really bad. And they're like, well, we don't really know what we can do. I have to go to work tomorrow. I can't not go to work. So Iamori is like, well, Iamori's like, okay, well, I'll do it. His mom's like, well, maybe I can get the day off. But as we see the next day, Iamori has stayed home to take care of his siblings. And he's feeding them.
And he lied to everyone about it, basically.
Yes, he basically made up an excuse that he was sick and that's why he couldn't go to this. And he's smiling to himself as he's thinking, like, it would have been nice. I wish I could have gone with, everybody. And that's when he sees Honoka. And she's like, yeah, today's cold today too, picking up their extremely awkward conversation from yesterday. And
It's cute.
she's like, oh, I heard you were sick. Should you be outside? And he has to admit, he's like, hey, I'm actually not sick. It's my two younger siblings who are sick. And he's panicking because he's like, oh, I'm talking too fast. I'm doing all these things. My dad just got transferred for work. Why can't I stop talking? And Onoka's like, oh, well, please give this to them then. I got these sports drinks for you, but if use it for them. And he's like, oh, that's awesome and super convenient because I actually was just about to go out to get some. And Honoka starts to like head off, like, well, see you later. And he's like, oh, hey, how was the trip? And she's like, it was fun, but I think it would have been more fun with you there. And I'm glad you told me why you couldn't come. It's just like you to be here to watch over the house. You're so cool. And, he thinks about it and he like knows, he's like, wait a minute, the ski place they're going to. Isn't that the same one I didn't get to go to back then? Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. So there is some kind of sense of like, oh, like a kind of like the thing that he missed out on is coming full circle, of course. I do like the way that this chapter is executed in terms of like, hey, it's nice to see like how Iomori more became the person that he is. We've kind of like taken it for granted, like, oh, he's this guy who's like got all these responsibilities. He seems very together, and it's like, yeah, but of course he wasn't always that way. So this is a look into how that happened. I like the fact that he, however, is the person who takes on the responsibility fully. Like his mom is thinking like, oh, you'll still get to go on your snowboarding, trip. And Imori's like, oh no, that's next week. So it's okay. I'll look after them. It's fine. And then, tells his teacher like, oh yeah, I can't come because I'm sick. Like, not like I'm looking after my siblings. Like, no, I'm sick and can't go. He's doing this in the way that like gives him the least possible glory. Like the only two that would know about it are his little siblings if Honoka hadn't come along and found him in this situation. I also like the way that every time that Honoka shows up in the flashback, you see her the way that Iomori sees her. She looks almost like she steps out in like heavenly light when she shows up at his place. And it brings home like, yeah, this is the girl that he is still in love with. Like in his memories, she is this incredibly beautiful, angelic figure to him. Even though she is probably the most boring of his three love interests, it's important to establish like this is how he sees her in his mind.
Definitely. All right. We'll have to find out what happens in the future in that ski trip. But in the meantime, we're not going skiing in this Ice Kingdom, Nick.
It's Order of the Flame, Chapter 32, The No Fun Ice Kingdom. All right, so the Ice King, but not the one from Adventure Time, has shown up in Order of the Flame because the series is going on forever, Quinn. It's going to go on so strong and not end in 2 months at most. Calerio is seemingly like lethally wounded as the Ice King shows up. And everyone's like, oh my god, it's the King of the Ice Kingdom, and the Winter Spirit is with him. The Winter Spirit, honestly, very boring in terms of like design. It's a woman with ice on her. That's kind of it in comparison to some of the others that we have seen. So the the Winter Spirit realizes that Otter had only cleaved the spirit's power, which means, oh man, the warrior flame is really potent. And so the Ice King is like, I'm going to put an end to this, and freezes Otter where he is. And everyone's like, oh my god, he's in his demigod form, but he still got frozen. While Otter is frozen, the Ice King gives some of the spirit's ice to Calerio and says, use this as fuel for the water spirit's recovery. And then Otter goes, why, to himself, and he realizes something, and he fizzles out of the ice. while the Ice King is talking about Calerio's rabbit underling, which I was like, I had fully forgotten that was a character by this point. So I guess credit to this dude for knowing who's in his army, basically. Oter comes out and demands of the Ice King, "Why are you fighting?" And he says, "Will you converse with me?" And Filgia's like, "Why are you trying to cover the world in winter? Why are you stealing the spirits?" And the winter spirit says, "I see. So that is how you operate." And the Ice King asks Caleria what he thinks, and Caleria says, "I mean, I'm interested in seeing what he does after he finds out." So the Ice King's like, "Bah, get nice again," and freezes Oter to a wall of ice and says, "Once it's all over, the entire world will know anyway. In the age of the 5 heroes, the world was covered in volcanoes and glaciers. Toward the oppressive rule of the evil Mage King, our 5 warriors raised the flags of revolt. Together with the spirits, they pushed the evil king back to the farthest ends of the glaciers, and the spirits warmed the warriors' freezing fingertips and granted them power. In defeating the evil king, the warriors became heroes, and having completed their duties, the spirits melted back into Mother Nature." And Order's like, "Yeah, I know that. That's the saga of 5 heroes." And the Winter Spirit says, "The saga doesn't end there. There remains one passage that was not. No, that you humans neglected to pass on. After returning to nature, the spirits created seasons in the world, mixing volcano with glacier, conjuring seas, inlets, and caves like the ones that are magical, Quinn."
That's what I was talking about. It was all leading up to this important moment in Oter.
Remembered that there was a cave mentioned in this chapter.
Nick, let me tell you, my mind is a steel trap. I remembered every important detail dropped in this chapter of Oper and the Flames.
Meanwhile, the evil king was sealed in an abandoned land that sat side by side with the few volcanoes and glaciers that remained, and one of the 5 heroes, the Warrior of Ice, vowed to protect the land. And time passed. The world became peaceful, but with the advent of peace, humans started fighting again, which is such a great way of summarizing all of human history. As the fighting stopped, humans started fighting again. Isn't that the way it is? But with every war that happened, there would be refugees, of course. There would be people who lost their homes and had to flee their land. And the Warrior of Ice accepted all those lost souls into his territory. And their descendants continued the practice over and over through the ages. And so by the time the glacier swallowed up every last volcano, this land had become known as the Ice Kingdom. A kingdom born in the land where the evil king was sealed. And over time, that seal was weakened. The evil king is on the verge of resurrection. And the Ice King says, "You may be able to deal with such an entity, but we will have no time to resist before our kingdom sinks to the bottom of the earth. I have tried resealing him, but he stole a part of the Ice Spirit's power and combined it with his own to spread winter across the world. It was never the Ice Kingdom's fault, didn't you know, that eternal winter had descended on the land? It never was their fault.
They were always good, Nick."
So, the Winter Spirit isn't enough to seal the evil, but according to the saga of the 5 heroes, the power of all 5 spirits can. And so Filgia immediately goes, "Well, you should have asked for help then, instead of invading us." And the Winter Spirit goes, "You think we didn't ask for help?"
Oh, I never thought about that. I just sat on my ass and did nothing, like an idiot. Like a fucking Konohamaru, you know?
So we get a montage of bootstrapping kings being like, "No, I'm not going to help you. It's your fault for being there to begin with." And so the Ice King was like, "Yeah, so we had no choice but to steal the other spirits so that we could fight the evil and seal it again before our home was overrun. So we used the wars that you people love, as well as your own logic, to save our own kingdom and people. We became villains and started a great war. Freeze the fingers of all those who have oppressed us." And then the Ice King's like, "There, I talked with you. You're satisfied? Now either give up No, give up and hand over your power. That's the chapter.
Yeah, so the series is definitely sticking around. I think we're all super excited about the future of this series because it's a ton of lore. So just think about what this means for the future of Odor and the Flame. You know, when we get around to, I mean, it's interesting. There's only 5 spirits really established for this. We've already kind of met them all. But hey, this is super cool. Yeah. Like, you know, a lot of interesting world building. But on the off chance, of course, Nick, that this series isn't going to run for much longer due to, I don't know, like a meteor or something.
The meteor spirit.
The meteor spirit showing up. The spirit of the axe showing up. This feels like something that could have been interesting had we had time to like develop it. Like the twist of like, hey, the Ice Kingdom's not actually the bad guys here. Well, kind of they are, but like not really. They aren't the bad guys. They're being controlled by something else that they're trying to actually get help from everyone else on. So, I think there is some aspect here that like makes me a little sad that we're getting all this kind of just dumped in front of us right now, but at the same time it's still not that good. Like I like the ideas, but the execution Odor just continuously kind of leaves a lot to be desired.
In time immemorial, Quinn, there was a wise passage from a much loved and much hated series, and that passage was, why me sad? And that was the question I asked myself after I read this chapter. Why me sad? Because this makes me sad. Just the entirety of this. The bad guys were actually the good guys the whole time thing. That's something that can work. It can't work in this context. Kawaguchi could be the greatest author in the world, and he's not. Let's be clear. He's not the best writer in the world. And with the sudden time frame that the series clearly has to implement this twist into, he never could possibly have pulled it off well. This is too sudden. There has not been enough leading into this, building into this. We have not gotten to know the Ice King really at all in order to care that he is delivering this twist message. It has no weight to it. We don't see the reactions of any of the characters that this bears any weight for. We don't even see the other spirits beyond Filgia react to this information, which seems like it should be the entire point. There could very easily be moments of like Kutane looking at Scotty and being like, why the fuck didn't you fucking tell us that you helped seal the evil and stuff before and you worked together? And no, none of that. So also pretty sure that there were more than 5 spirits because there was, like a metal spirit.
Like the iron spirit? Yeah, like I don't know.
Anyway.
It's only 5 important spirits, Nick. You're allowed to have unimportant things in the background, I guess.
So, look, there was no way that this was going to be good. And even then, I feel like Kawaguchi's shortcomings as an author kind of come through a little bit in this in a way that, again, makes me sad. So, yeah, I feel bummed out after reading this because it just... Ugh.
Yeah, this is what it is. This is what happens when a series gets canceled. We have to, unfortunately, experience it a whole bunch, but I don't know. I'm not super into Odor enough to feel real bad about this either. It was kind of one of these things that I'm like, oh, okay. Like, fair enough, I guess,
Yeah. Well,
now, when we want to talk about a series that's not going away anytime soon.
It's seemingly.
There was like a mosaic this week for Jump for the cover, and it has like, all the series on it. Someone Hertz makes the fucking inner ring that like Ichi the Witch is on and stuff like that. Like, it's crazy how like this series has already like firmly rooted itself into the annals of Jump, essentially.
There was some discussion on that, and some people made the point of, I think that some of the newer series in that circle are getting a little bit of a boost because they're new. Sure. But yeah, I think that it cannot mean bad things if you're being put alongside Blue Box, Akane-banashi, Kagurabachi, all of them already. So someone hurts out there, Quinn. Chapter number 15, semifinals. Mime just says that he's going to cheer on Eel Potato in the Lister Koshian, and Mizuo is giving a little like, yeah, thank you, kind of gesture. And then says like, hey, tag along with me for a bit. And so they go to Nachi's to get sweets. And Mime's like, did you just want me to come along because you wanted to get sweets? And she's like, and Mizuo is like, I also want to congratulate Nachi for getting into the Listener Koshian too. And Nachi is still referring to Mime as Mr. Boyfriend, which is I still find funny for some reason. And they start talking about each other's 10 entries. And this is a chance for a little bit of exposition because Mime doesn't know what they're talking about. And they explain that, see, the Listener Koshian, you actually have like a cap of entries that you can put in. You can only put in 10 entries. So they have to be like the 10 best jokes you can think of, as opposed to the strategy that Mime was trying for, which was to put as many jokes out there as you can. So there's 10 semifinalists in this competition, including Nachi and Mizuo. And as we're getting this explanation, Mizuo is also giving her own explanation of how to prepare eggs and steam them and stuff. Just something completely having her own conversation on the sidelines, like she's giving very important information. And so she's like, all of a sudden, she's like, I just got to, send in 10 clinchers for this. And they're, like competing with each other, but they're also rooting for each other. And that's nice. Now she's got to go outside because her cafe sign got knocked over. And so Mizuo looks to Mime and says like, hey, what do you think? And Mime is like, what do you mean? And she says, do you think I can win? And Mime is like, oh, yeah, you're my idol, Eel Potato. Yeah. And then Mizuo's like, what? Huh? And Mime's like, oh, sorry. That was a little bit weird for me to say that. But Mizuo takes it very well. She's, clearly a little bit embarrassed by it, but she's like, yeah, that gave me a boost of confidence. So it's very nice. Mm-hmm. Then Mizuo says, hey, thanks for the good push. You might feel muscle pain tomorrow after that nice push, which is very silly. And then they head out. We see that Mizuo is refusing hangout opportunities with her friends because she's really focused on writing her answers. As she and Mime are walking, she's like getting in the sumo wrestler mindset because of the prompt that they have to do. So she's going around acting like she's doing sumo practices, which is very silly. And then comes the big night of the Listener Koshian. So the two hosts give some congratulations to the 10 listeners who got their spots. And they say, we're broadcasting decked out in our finest tuxedos. And then the other one lampshades the fact like, yeah, no one's watching us, but we're in our tuxedos.
We used to do that before we moved to doing weekly episodes like on video. We actually used to record this in like full 3-piece kind of like, formal wear.
Yeah, our Sunday best. We absolutely did that every time, even though nobody could see us. And then once everyone could see us, we were like, and now we can stop doing
Let's dress it down a little bit, yeah. Nick, do we have any old wrestling t-shirts we could throw on?
This is an old wrestling t-shirt. Okay. So they do a thing which I find cute, which is that they actually play the opening siren for the actual Koshian at the start of the Listener Koshian. That's very silly. I like that. And then we start getting some of the submissions for the prompt. What would a super scatterbrained sumo wrestler be like? And we see a bunch of different people who are listening in on stuff. And I like that we see like people like in all sorts of different contexts. There's, a couple of people who are hanging out late for coffee. There's someone who is, late in a kitchen somewhere. Someone who is like driving around on some sort of job. And then just people like hanging out at home in different ways, including like the girl from anime lo-fi beats to study to, it looks like.
Yeah, a little bit.
And as this is going on, we keep on seeing a lot of entries from Battle Chimney, one of the listeners who was in the contest. And Mime is like, oh, that's another one from that guy. And Mizuho says, like, yeah, last year I lost that person. I'm going to myrtleize him. What does myrtleize mean? She asks that question of herself, which I love. And we also see that Shrimp Sushi is listening, and she's like bundled up in her bed, and she has to whisper her exclamations because it's the middle of the night in her family's home, which I love. And we do get some submissions being read for Eel Potato as well. More stuff from Battle Chimney. So Mime realized, like, okay, this Battle Chimney guy, or Batchim, as they reference, that this guy's definitely going to advance. Who the hell even is this guy? I can't find anything about him when I try and like Google him, basically. And Mizo says, yeah, I don't know who he is. No one's ever met him. And I bet he's a no good jerk. That's what I think. So that's gotta be true.
It's just gotta be.
Bat Batsuaru, aka Nachi, does get one in, and she's immediately worried. She's like, I barely got one in. So she knows, like, oh man, I'm screwed. Another Eel Potato one, where the sumo wrestler in question accidentally calls their master mom, which is like, yep, get that. And then as they're approaching the end of all the entries, Mizuho says to Mime, hey, if I make it to the finals, let's you and I and the bird and the bell go out to eat. And Mime's like, what are you talking about? What poem are you referencing? But towards the end, Shrimp Sushi makes a surge. She's gaining on Eel Potato and might take that last spot in the semifinals. So it all comes down to the last entry. And Mizuho starts to have a little bit of doubt right at the end. She gets nervous and she says, like, hey, Mime, if I lose, I'm going to regret that I didn't go to the cake buffet. Okay, well, that's not what you should be.
Yeah, she's not actually that concerned, I guess.
But she says, sorry, I lied. I want to win. And then at that moment, from Eel Potato, whoa, does Super Scatterbrain sumo wrestler be like, what, you said spring tournament and not sprig of torn mint? That's a weird one. But I really love the little victory jump that she does.
Oh,
like
yeah.
It's so fucking cute. It's
so
great.
It's so cute. I like she's not like the jump, like the way it's like all from like the knees, the way she's like gripped her hands together so tightly. She's
the way her
so
cheeks
pumped.
are kind of puffed out,
Yeah.
and Mime is like in shock as it comes through. And so the listeners are announced: Battle Chimney, Hateful Eight, and Eel Potato. And even though nobody's there for to see her, she stands up on her bed with her fists raised. Yeah, Mizuho did it. So the finals are after the ad break, and so there we get the message of like, all right, finalists, send in your emails with your pre-finals comments. Mizuho and Mime talk a bit about like, oh man, Shrimp Sushi like just missed the cut. She must be really upset. And I love Mizuho's comment of, maybe she's just sleeping right now. And over at Shrimp Sushi's place, she's like, Eel Potato!
What's going on? Is everything okay?
And she's on the top bunk, and her little sibling is like, what's wrong? Oh, man. So now it's time for the live submission part of the contest. But Mizuho says, hey, Mime, I'm getting some static on my radio in my room. Let's go outside. Aw. She wants her guy to be there for her big finals performance. Isn't that sweet?
Aw, isn't that sweet? But it's wrong,
What a
Nick.
cute chapter.
Yeah, this is a cute chapter. I liked it a lot. I like the little moment of her jumping up in the air and how excited. I also like when she gets that surge of confidence just from hearing Mime is like very confident in her abilities to win this. So That is good. Now, Nick, do we have any entries? We just saw the winning entries for this.
Yes, we did.
Did we have any entries of our own? Could we win, listener Kiyoshin?
I do. I have an entry for the prompt, which again is, what would a super scatterbrained sumo wrestler be like? Do you have an entry, Quinn?
I do. It's not very good. I think this series is helping
I'm not
me
super confident in this one.
really coming to respect this, but at the same time, I also know that frequently these are very Japanese-focused jokes that I'm like, I don't know that much shit about sumo. I can't make a reference to Big Show versus Akiboto at like WrestleMania 20.
I had like Yokozuna references going through my head. I was like,
My scatterbrained sumo would continuously remember to plant, but never to charge. He keeps forgetting that part before he gets to it.
What happens next?
Yeah.
Mine, what would a super scatterbrained sumo wrestler be like? Oh, I left my keys in my other Mawashi.
Hey, that's a good one. I like that one.
I feel like that would be an actual joke that would show up in someone Hurst. That's something very particular.
That's what you actually have to strive for. You have to look for that one specifically. All right, yeah. Very good chapter. Enjoyed this one quite a lot. And it is Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi time. The chapter's
ultimately it is.
Yeah, the chapter's not called Good Kiyoshi Harai. That's a reference to something else. The
Good
chapter
Will
title.
Hunting.
Oh, is it good?
They're on a bench.
I know, but I'm like, how does Good Will Hunting? You know, whatever. I don't care that much. Wait, was his name Will Hunting in the movie?
Yes.
Okay. It's been a really long time since I've watched it, and that makes it sound like I watched it in the 90s. No, I think I watched it 2 years ago, but it's just that's when none of the details really stuck with me in a scene that Robin Williams wasn't in.
I absolutely cannot watch that movie without fucking crying. So
that's fair. This is chapter 74, though, A Banquet with Love. So Kiyoshi is down for the count currently still. Oh gosh, I forget his name, but old man guy is watching over.
Mr. Tosaka?
Yeah, Tosaka is watching on as the Yamada family is just all trying to channel their demon energy into Kiyoshi at this point. And, you know, people from town are like, hey, there's, you know, is Kiyoshi here? We're going to help too. He risked his life to protect us demons, so we want to help him too, if even a little bit. There's like a line starting to form outside of the Yamada's place where everyone, all the locals want to help. And Tosaka's like, oh my gosh, all the demons here helping an exorcist? Kiyoshi, you're one heck of a guy, so don't worry, leave the outside to me. And he's going to go out there and handle it. Cut over to Helzalulu, who is very upset. She is now in her sort of full Behelza mode, and she is just punching and crushing things. Shishido is just eating stuff, just munching, getting powers ready. And he notes, like, all right, I think the show is nearing his end. And he eats something like a leather coat bit that has the word eat, like a patch that says the word eat on it. And when he does it, he transforms into his punk mode, which
he looks so fucking cool.
He looks exactly the same, but he has a leather jacket on. But that is, I suppose,
yes.
I suppose that is technically a transformation. Lulu notes that it's a tacky outfit, and she's going to tear it to shreds. The speed of her whip surpasses Mach Demon 5, whatever the fuck that is. And it seems to be very fast because it slams Shishido in the head before he could even react. And she just goes on to crush him. She's like, you know what? If you won't be my slave, then you don't even need to exist. And she activates a super powerful move, Lulu's Destroyer. And boom! The forest that they're in has basically turned into a Dragon Ball fight scene. There are no discernible features left anymore, except for crags and ground, basically. And Lulu transforms back into her prior form. And she's like, that is why I hate that form. Well, anyway, since I've won, once I conquer the Roth territory, I'll just make a bunch of new slaves to build me a new castle. La 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 la.
Literally starts skipping off.
Literally just starts, skipping off when Shishido says, I already told you, Lulu, just lording over others ain't worth squat. She's like, this is unbelievable. You took that attack. What is wrong with you? And Shishido's just like, whether you're in the demon realm or the human world, there's something way more important than domination. Love and peace.
All right, Vash the Stampede.
Yeah. Chill out, dork. But Lulu says this of love and peace and remembers herself as a child holding on to someone else's hand. And she just kind of laughs. She's like, what are you, an idiot? Love and peace. Like, that's so stupid. You sound like a weirdo. And he's like, all right, you can do that, but I'm not budging. Someday, I believe humans and demons will be able to join hands. That's right. You and I will be able to get along. I could feel it. No, I know it. And he's thinking of Helzebub, or whatever his name was, Helzeboo, some shit like that.
Bubsy, basically.
Bubsy
is what he calls him.
Yeah. He's thinking of her dad, basically, and the fact that they're good friends. So, that is proof enough that this is possible. But Lulu's not taking it. She's, getting upset. She's transforming back into her Helza form, everything like that. And Shishido just starts chewing on something. It's not really clear. He's just kind of chomping on stuff. When Lulu starts to notice, hey, wait, is he eating all of the damage he's taken?
This thing's so fucking broken.
How the fuck does that work? So yeah, he says, I'm going to shatter that mindset of yours. Punishment time. It's time you feel all the damage you've put on others. So he fires out an attack. It's called Teen Spirit, and he fires it in the shape of the fucking anarchy symbol. So,
hell yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Shishido's the coolest character in this series now. He's just, by default, he's fucking awesome. And it sends Helzalulu, basically defeats her. Giant laser. She's, boom. Smoke clears and she's back in her prior form. And he's like, you feeling a bit more remorseful now? And she's like, look, love and peace, my butt. I am never going to get along with people like you. And he's like, all right, fine, suit yourself. Goes, eat something, pulls out a gun. And he's like, that's it. No talking. Just preparing to the tension of the situation. He's just going to cap this woman in the face. Pulls the trigger and a flower comes out. And he's like, flower power. This fucking dork. Lulu watches as he leaves after this and realizes, this is the guy that had my life in his hands. I was completely helpless at that point. No, this doesn't make sense. I'm special. I'm a princess. And she blushes. What's this feeling? She thanks him because she is now in love with him. This was a very flattering moment. As Shishido is walking away, he thinks, Bubsy, I'll trust you, thinks a prior conversation he was having with Bubsy where he's like, I'm going to trust your kids too. And Bubsy's like, no, it's okay. You can kill them. And he's like, no, I can't do that. What am I always telling you? It's all about love and peace.
Yeah. I do find it to be a little bit of a concerning pattern that we have had two group battle things, and seemingly the only villains that get spared are the women who fall in love with the guy who beats them. Admittedly, though, liked it way better in this case than when it was done with Hydrico. I have to say that I really fucking love the fight that Shishido and Lulu had.
Yes.
It had a couple of weird different things to it. It had, her being in control, hiding behind her minions, her going whole gorilla mode. Shishido whipped out all sorts of weird, cool powers. And they had a great back and forth as characters, too, as they were doing it. There were jokes. There was character building. By the end of the last chapter, I was like, I hope that Lulu doesn't die because I'm really enjoying her.
Yeah.
And so I was ultimately very pleased. I was like, oh, good. She's not going to die. And she could, in fact, come back later with this opening. Even though, yes, it's like, as I said, I don't like that we have basically done the same thing with female characters twice.
Yeah, that is a very fair and very correct thing to observe. I'm trying to be a little bit patient because I do think that I think this sort of new arc of going in, the Shishido arc or whatever we're calling this, going into the demon world, is sort of a fresh start for this series. We've kind of noted before that the series had this weird thing of like, is it canceled? Is it not? Oh, I think it's sticking around, but it definitely didn't seem like it had the plans for that yet. So like the idea of, hey, what are we going to do with these villains? Are we just going to kill them off or keep them around? It seems like the series is trying to stray more in that latter direction now. And I feel like if we had that knowledge going forward, or the author had that knowledge going forward, maybe some of the bad guys from the last arc also would have stuck around a little bit longer. It almost felt like the series needed like that clean slate to start over. And now it makes more sense because we're able to establish things. But I also want to completely agree. This fight ruled. When we get to the year-end fight list, I want to see Hell's of Lulu versus Shishido on there because this was a really cool fight.
I do have to wonder if not just Lulu, but maybe also like Gaga could potentially be a character that sticks around and comes back as like a weird ally character in the future. And maybe just Bobo's like the only one they kill because he seems like to be the most evil kind of thing. Gaga is definitely a very colorful character. I think that it would take a little bit more work than with Lulu to make him seem palatable because Lulu seemed, although she was clearly very evil and selfish, much more comedically presented than Gaga from the start. We'll see, I think, how the fight unfolds with Gaga when he shows up, though.
Hey, I'm very interested to see Bobo just in general because we haven't seen anything about him
At all.
yet. Yeah, so I really kind of want to see what his personality is going to be like.
Marriagetoxin. It's a bonus chapter, Quinn. Not just any bonus chapter, but Christmas bonus chapter.
And a plot relevant one as well. Like there are actual details in here.
Extremely. We start with one right away, which is, hey, remember when there was that whole like observation thing where like Garo got to understand like what real people were like by basically like looking into zoo pens where they were hanging out, and Kinosaki was in one of them. Yeah, Kinosaki is having a Christmas party with people in that one. They're having a gift exchange, and then we see Sensei interrupts Garo as he is kind of like curiously looking around and starting to peer in on it. And Sensei is like, "Oh, I've been looking for you. It's time to go to work." But Garo looks back curiously at all the people happily smiling as they're exchanging gifts. And then Garo wakes up in not the present of the series. This is a time before Kinosaki had been separated from him. And Kinosaki is all dressed up for Christmas, wearing the like a Santa-style dress thing, which I think is like very popular as like an iconography in Japan, like the Santa dress thing. Mm-hmm. And also a cute ribbon cap. So Kinosaki says, "Hey, hope you don't mind me visiting." And they've got oh, shit. They've got several large numbered boxes, and so they're gonna do a stay-at-home date practice Christmas edition because Kinosaki points out, "Hey, Christmas is a really big event for couples. You gotta master this." And Garo's like, "Well, why now though? December's not for 6 months." So at this time, it is fully summer. But Kinosaki insists, well, Christmas is a very busy time for my profession, so we should take it on now that we have the time. And then Kinosaki goes, and I have to have Christmas Day itself reserved for my dearest. So they're going to set up decorations. Garo is tasked with bringing the boxes inside, and he observes they're strangely heavy because, of course, once the decorations are set up, he's allowed to open the boxes one by one. The first one has Naruko in it, and he uses his ambient ability to make all sorts of like jingle music happen. He's juggling bells and stuff. Then Izaka comes
there. Those halls with bells of holly, Nick. It's crazy.
Second present has Izaka to do Christmas cooking. And Garo also helps out. They make, gingerbread and turkey and pudding and all sorts of good stuff, and everyone's eating. And then Garo realizes, wait a minute, first Naruko and then Izaka. That means that the last box must be, it's Beppu. Of course it's Beppu. Who else would it be but Beppu? And he jumps out and is like, let's get this party started. And then Kiyoshi demands that he sit.
He also comes out by going bow wow. So
yes, he knows what his place is.
My man's living the bit. No one even has to like tell him to sit anymore. He's just like, I'm just gonna be a dog. I'm just gonna be a part dog. It's fine.
He sat in that box while they were setting up Christmas decorations and then cooking a full Christmas dinner. He has been in there for hours and is immediately taking shit afterwards, and then has to be fed like a dog. He doesn't get to manipulate his own turkey leg. Naruko feeds it to him because he is a mongrel.
I didn't even look at his face in that scene, but he's truly eyes and mouths. He's crazy.
So while those three are, having dinner and stuff, Garo, sitting with Kiyoshi and brings up, I thought this was supposed to be like date practice. And Kiyoshi says, yeah, it's nice to just chill out like this sometimes, though. And he says, we'll have some cake a bit later, and that'll be it. And then he thinks privately to himself, my role is almost over. By Christmas, Garo-kun should have a lovely partner by his side, and by then, I will be. And we get a zoom in on that scar on his chest. Ooh. But Garo interrupts those thoughts and says, not yet. I haven't had the chance to give back to you yet. People exchange gifts on Christmas, right? I got 3 big presents from you, and yet I haven't given anything back. And Kiyoshi starts to say, don't worry about it. Garo says, no, you've given me so many precious things, and I've never returned the favor. So just as you taught me, I'm going to try my hardest to find you a present that will truly make you happy. Just give me a bit of time. I swear I'll come up with an extra special gift for you. And Kiyoshi starts to blush a bit. And he says, in that case, I'll be looking forward to getting it on Christmas Day. Aww. And then they're interrupted because Izaka's got cake. And so Kiyoshi's like, cake, going for that. Because he's got his priorities down. But as he's left on his own, Garo thinks, isn't that day reserved for your dearest? Oh, well. Oh, Garo, you're so dumb.
It's fine. It'll all work out. This is a chapter that's very sweet, but it's meant to kind of break your heart because it's not like congruent with the story that's being told. That's happened before all of this. So it's like, oh, look at all the sweet memories that Garo and Kiyoshi have had together, and they shared this fake holiday moment together. Ignore the fact that in the current situation, things are much more dire, and like even in this flashback, Kiyoshi is kind of hinting more and more that there is some kind of ticking clock that he has kind of going on. Just enjoy that it's fun, but it's bittersweet when you think about it.
Yeah, and I feel like this might be the single most solid indication that Kiyoshi loves Garo that we've gotten yet. I struggle to think if there is a more bold-faced piece of evidence than this. So, but yeah, sweet little chapter. Nice to have a Christmas, not during Christmas, but during Christmas chapter like this. And let's move along from that to Noose Exorcist, chapter 127, Soranaki's Heart. Where do these children come from? Oh, they're playing with Gekka now. And yeah, there was a festival, and Gekka found some lost boys who stayed with them overnight. I guess the kids' father comes and finds them, and so they have to go home, and they're like, oh, you should come with us, miss. And Gekka's like, I can't do that. And the man who's come to collect them is staring at her in a way. And so Soranaki approaches her after they're all gone and says, people don't like you either? You seem to have some sort of special ability. Is that why? And off panel entirely, Soranaki is told that Gekka can read minds. And Gekka's like, yeah, I can tell what the people around me are thinking. And Soranaki doesn't understand why that would make people hate you. But Gekka's like, I mean, come on. If everyone knows you're hungry, then that'd be embarrassing. And she also says, my family's kind of notorious. So Soranaki, in a moment of empathy, is like, that must make life really hard for a human. You should stop bothering to try and fight to protect these people. And Gekka says, nope. I'm going to live surrounded by people in spite of this power. And hey, I've got you. I've got Nue. You're both actually really hard for me to read, so I feel really at ease around you. So, yeah, they're getting along a bit. Soranaki says, the unwanted power with which you were born is wearing your heart down than you imagine. Rejecting people and resenting them would be easier, and yet you keep smiling and you say you'll struggle against it. I find that dazzling. I'd like to help remove that shackle of yours. And he just can do this. He sets up a research department in the Exorcist Bureau because he can just do this. I don't know. We've gotten so little indication of how the ancient Exorcist Bureau worked. We're just told, like, yeah, they could just carte blanche decide things, I guess. Whatever. But nobody showed up for Soranaki's whole thing about the research division, so I guess he didn't actually have the power to set it up. Anyway, a month later, they've come up with something to seal Gasha Duck Duck Goose, and so Soranaki has got that, and he's like, this is for Gekka's sake, so we can't have too many deaths because he prioritizes, her wishes and stuff. And then as he is actually like developing things, people then start to show up and are like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Because, like, that's maybe you guys should have thought that this would be used. Whatever. Anyway, Gasha New Donk City shows up. And so like, oh my God, look at all of this. And like, there's this huge like cloud of thorns, but it's actually a bunch of monster shapes. And so like the entire wave is actually his army. And so everyone feels very overwhelmed, but then Gekka runs to the front lines and she slashes a line in the ground behind her and says, look, the battlefield is beyond that. Don't take a single step forward. If you can keep that promise, I swear I'll protect you. I'll be back. But instead, everyone is like, no, we're going to fight at your side. That gives them the courage to rush in and join her. But there were hundreds of deaths, of course, as part of that. And as a result of not just the sacrifices that the army made, but also from Gekka helping in this whole fight. And also with a great part of Nue's power sacrificed as well. Help me with one, Quinn. I gotta get another D in here.
Let's go with Gasha. Don't you forget about me.
Gasha, don't you forget about me. Yes. Okay. Yeah, they do all that.
Then you can replace it later on with Gasha. Don't, like from the song.
Gasha don't is defeated as a result of that. Gekka comes back with the remains of the army. One of the figures who I think actually is the kid's father from before lifts her up and says, like, heap praises upon her. She helped to defeat our enemy and save everyone. And they're like, everyone toss her in the air. And so there's a festival to celebrate her, and Gekka gets to hang out with people. Meanwhile, from the sidelines, Nue and Soranaki are observing, and Soranaki's like, she was this lonely and consequential child, and now she's a central figure among the Exorcists. You and I raised her this far. How does that make you feel? And Nue says, meh, it's all her own strength. Okay. So, but she notes to Soranaki, we're alike because we're the only two of the Hyo who can change. Ooh. Another battle happens. Suzaku is sealed, but as a result of all the fighting, like everyone except for just Gekka and Nue is killed, and Soranaki is also alive. That's it, though. Like everyone else is just fucking dead because of the toll that the fighting has taken on them. And Yeah, so Gekka's like, yeah, I mean, I can't even believe that all that happened. Like, the citizens were scared of me, and yet I was tossed in the air like a hero. And now they're all just gone. There's no frightened civilians. There's no comrades to praise me. And Soranaki says, hey, are you all right? And she says, yeah, I've got Nue and I've got you. Later that night, the two of them are lying in the ruins of a building together. And Soranaki now seems distracted, and Gekka says, like, hey, you like it when it's lively, and it's completely the opposite right now. And Soranaki says, well, you're the liveliest one in this city. The two of us can just make our own excitement. And Gekka says, aren't you like sad we'll never see any of the others ever again? Soranaki pauses and he says, it doesn't bother me at all. I've never felt anything for a specific person or thing. Everything except merry light vanishes into the cavern of my heart. Or the cave of your heart, maybe.
Where there's magic.
And he says, I don't even know what I am. But then Gekka turns over and puts her hand like over his chest, like near his heart, and says, I want to know you better, so I'll take a look for you. And so basically she's like asking for permission to read his mind, because normally she can't get a read on him. So he says, all right, try. And she sees this monstrous entity and thinks, I saw the true shape of that loneliness. Something which would never be understood by anyone. Soranaki's. And in that moment, Gekka says, so you were blanked out. And she apologizes after that, you know, kind of intruding on that privacy. But Soranaki says, thank you. I see that is what I was. And he starts to roll over to her. And then we cut away. And we are just given the narration. When Gekka was found the next day, she was unrecognizable.
Yeah. So...
Quinn, I think I like this chapter.
I understand, and I've heard that sentiment from other people. I'll say I didn't particularly care for this chapter, if only because I just don't believe yet that if I invest true, honest feelings into this Exorcist, that it's ever going to be, like, appreciated and like, you know, I'm not going to get my just desserts for like actually investing in this series. At some point,
sure,
it's going to pull the rug and not actually like deal with this stuff or just be more confusing. And then as a result, I hate these chapters the most because they're not silly or dumb or funny. They're actually like trying to be a good series. And I'm just like, no, you're supposed to
stop trying.
You're supposed to be dumb. That's the only thing I've come to like about you, basically.
I fully understand that. This is not what I come to New Exorcist for. Absolutely. I am much more at home when it is just unashamedly stupid. But for one of its attempts at being serious, I actually think that this was one of the best efforts that it has put forward in that regard. There were some interesting dynamics at play with the way that Gekka was kind of becoming less and less human as things went on, despite her hope to bond with people. And it just kind of cost her all the people around her, and she still continued to try and hold on to hope. And Soranaki's fascination with her growing more and more, leading up to whatever it was that happened, which is we're kind of like given conflicting images at the end. It almost looks like they're about to share a moment of intimacy, and yet it's also implied that the reason that Gekka has her monstrous form in the present is because of something that Soranaki did to her. So, yeah, effective at least in these 18 pages, I felt.
Sure. All right, so we're going to move forward then to Akane-banashi story 188, Triplicate Training.
Yes. So Tyson is helping Akane to move, packing boxes and stuff like that. And so asking about like, hey, you got to like learn to do God of Death if you're going to do a show where you're doing competing God of Deaths.
Everyone like, you know, it's really convenient that you got like the word of when you're going to be able to learn that after you made the deal that you're going to perform that. Maybe not the best timing on your part, but man, that really lucked out for you. You'd look like an idiot otherwise.
And just giving the great sarcastic remarks while Akane's just got to sit there and take what she goes. But she says, like, look, I got to master this sooner or later anyway. And she says, when it comes to Kaisi Ani-san, I've got to make up the expectations that I couldn't meet when I was a Zenza. And she's, again, just thinking about that time when she lost the competition, didn't get the chance to perform at the same event because she lost that competition. And on top of that, she's like, I've got more stuff to do. There's the whole thing where he is resentful towards Shigema. She knows that she's got to face off against him. And so she's got like all these different things all putting pressure on her relationship to Kaise, and also just the fact that she's got her pride for where she is, where she has come from.
She is recognizing that they are reflections now of their masters, and thus carry some of the responsibility of that feud now as well. She's got a lot going on in her poor brain.
So she gives herself one of her kind of signature, like, double slaps to the face to gather herself, but she does like a whole formation to do it. So she really puts some stuff into it. And she's like, all right, I just got to keep it simple. If Kaise Ani-san couldn't reach Shinichi and I can't prove I can beat him, then Shinichi is a dream that will never be real. And plus, she thinks about, again, that favor that Isho promised her. And in the moment, she thinks he was so much more generous than ever before. It's scary. I can tell I will never get a chance like this again. I can't afford to let it go to waste. This is the Ishokai. I've got to get to the meaning of the root of all evil. And first, I need to know more about the school's history, about Isho Arakawa, which means winning is the only way to get through. Nice. Yep. And Tyson's like, I don't know if I approve of you treating Rakugo like it's some kind of shonen battle thing all the time. And Akane is like, that's enough out of you. I love the face that she makes there. So they're all done with everything. They've unpacked everything because Akane now does have a place of her own, at least. So no more couch surfing, at least for her, which could not have been good for her. And Tyson's like, all right, now that I've helped you doing that, I gotta go prep for the Renseikai. And Akane is like, that brings back memories. Tyson's like, shut the fuck up.
Shut up. You're like fucking 20 years old.
You're like a year older than me. So, and she's like, you need a lesson? You need a lesson? And Tyson's like, you've got to worry about your stuff. Isn't your training start tomorrow? And yeah, it does. And Shomei has told Akane that he will be employing the triplicate training method, in which the master performs the same story on 3 consecutive days. So on the 4th, the pupil will have memorized and completed the work. An old traditional method of teaching. And in keeping with history, recording is prohibited. So you get to watch it 3 times, and you better get it down after that. Jesus Christ.
That's an intense thing. Now, granted, she does have the vantage point of at least also having heard it performed by Shugema at some point. But that is still a very difficult thing to have to learn all of the nuances of a story just by watching it only 3 times.
But everything is like blanked out when we're getting that explanation from Shigema. And when we pan back, it turns out that they're in Hakata. And she's like, why are we here for this? And Shomei explains that he's got business here in Fukuoka. And so he's like, I was looking for an opener, so this is perfect timing. And Akane is like, I mean, you could have given me some advance warning, though. And Shomei says, at times like this, I like to be a little scamp. That's one of my principles.
I love this dude so much. He's already one of my favorite characters in the series, but I love him just being like, push up his glasses. Sometimes I like to be a little scamp.
It is one of my principles. Like, all these things are like, I am very proper and precise. And he's like, I like to be a little scamp sometimes.
Sometimes. I'm a little shit heel.
Akane says, like, I don't know. I mean, like, I didn't bring any nice clothes. And Shomei says, don't worry, I'm in my casual wear. The full suit is his casual wear.
3-piece suit, my guy.
One of my principles. But on top of that, someone else is going to be joining them. It's Rokuro, the remix guy.
Oh my god. It's been so long.
It's been a long ass time since we've actually seen him, yes. But he also wanted a God of Death lesson, so he's going to just have the two of them do the triplicate training for this. So he's like, all right, we're going to my solo show. Let's go. And Akane and Rokuro have a little bit of time to, like, catch up on, like, what they've each accomplished and stuff. And Akane's like, I'm kind of surprised you haven't actually learned God of Death before. And Rokuro is like, I can't handle horror. Whenever I watch something scary, I have a really hard time getting to sleep. And Akane asks, like, well, then why God of Death? And he turns to her and says, I think I have the same reason as you. Doesn't really explain beyond that. But we know, of course, that he has had this fascination with the art of Shigema before. Yeah. We just don't know exactly what the nature of it is yet.
I'm very glad we are getting to spend time with him, because when he first showed up, there was the idea that this guy was going to be a significant character in the story of Akane-banashi, and then he just kind of stopped showing up for a really long time. So I'm
a long time.
Very glad that the story is, like, putting some focus on him again.
Rokuro asks if Akane has worked with Shomei before, and she says no. And he says, then you're lucky that I'm here, because he can be kind of, yeah. And Shomei is very particular about everything in preparation for his performances. And Akane is, like, running around trying to do stuff. And I do like that a couple of times we see Rokuro being like, yes, giving her a little bit of tips while she's trying to get stuff ready. Like, she's got to have, like, stuff at a precise temperature with the hot water and stuff. He's dictating, like, what the seat height is, what the lights are going to be like, what the snacks are. And every time he's like, these are my principles. You must have 23 red M&Ms in the bowl. This is my principle.
I'm a little scamp.
So Akane has run ragged for a bit. After she finally has everything set up, she thanks Rokuro for the help, and he explains, like, yeah, Shomei is close with my master, so I've known her for a while. After that, Shomei is like, hey, second of my performances today is God of Death. So this is the first of the 3 times I'm going to perform for your training, so keep that in mind. And so Akane is like, thank you, and is very enthusiastic. And Shomei says, I just hope you'll be as enthusiastic after the show. The ability to follow the teachings and implement them while remaining true to oneself is a cornerstone of the arts. What I will perform for you now forms a pair with the specialty of Master Shigema. We get a visual of him contrasted with Shigema, almost like a playing card, like the two bodies attached at the torso. So here we go with that. I like that we get this set up and that we have some nice sprinkled in humor here and there, including with Shomei, which was unexpected but very welcome.
Yeah, I really love getting more different, like, dimensions to Master Shomei. It's much appreciated. He's just, like, already a good character, but just sprinkling in the humor that this series is already so good at really helps to, like, take this character up a notch. I really do find it funny that he like sits there and he's like, I'm a little scamp sometimes, pushes up glasses, like, okay, my guy, you look like somebody who's never had merriment in your life, but I do like that you're like, I do enjoy pranking people sometimes, being a little shit. It's very funny. And as I said, just very happy that Rokuro is back into the story, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more about what his whole deal is, because he is presumably going to be one of Akane's ally/rivals going forward. One of the big ones.
Yeah.
All right. Nick, let's wrap up this week of manga by talking about One Piece, Chapter 1169. Nice. My death cannot come soon enough. We do get a 2-page cover spread of the Rocks Pirates. Very, very cool.
Very, very mafia looking, all of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if Kaido's ever looked cooler, honestly.
What's very funny is just like the height discrepancy.
Yeah.
Is like everyone in this crew was like fucking like 2 times higher like than a normal person. So like, yeah, you look at all these people and then you're like, oh yeah, that's just Stussy kind of sitting in Blackbeard's, like not even his lap. Like it is like in like the crooks of his arms, basically. Like that's how big he is in comparison to her. Cool stuff. So we are still in our flashback, even though they said our tale was just about done. We're not quite there yet. We open with Shanks hanging out with Mr. Ya, and basically finding out the information that Rogers had a son. So Shanks is like, oh, well, I'm going to look at that guy like a little brother then. And they're like, yeah, that's fair. Me and the rest of the crew looked at you and Buggy like our sons. And Shanks is like, well, if this guy's got Rogers' blood, then I guess he'll be the next generation king of the pirates. And they're like, it's not a hereditary title, right? Like, it's not going to pass down to him automatically. And usually when things go against expectations, that's when that's what makes life so fun and unpredictable. Cut over, the scene in the castle is going down. Harold has already cut down one person, one of his guards at this point, when he was trying to chain him up. And he's like, wait, why did I do that? Why did my body move on its own? Was it to fulfill Imu's orders? He's realizing, like, he's starting to think, he's like, am I incapable of even resisting this? Like, can it alter my very thoughts to make, like, in the moment for the rest of my life? Like, this is bad. Everything I've done, it was all for nothing. 144 years of life down the drain. My death cannot come soon enough. And he's calling out. He's like, you have to kill me before I'm taken over. Loki and Ja Rule show up just in time to see Harold speared by like a dozen people, and it doesn't matter. Harold is even thinking that he can feel his body recovering as they're doing it. He's thinking to himself, stop it, run for your lives, men, get out of here. But he just, swings his sword, cuts through them all, and things are getting very chaotic. Cut over to Shanks. He gives a little bit of more lore information about the different covenants. So he explains that the Shallows Covenant that he signed allows Imu to take control of somebody, but only as long as they're within that range. However, Harold is preparing to go to the next level of covenant, the Abyss Covenant. And when he does that, he gets, super strong. You get an undying body. You also get to generate this Abyss, the teleportation ring that we've seen. However, you do get, like, Imu can control you from anywhere at that point.
Which gives us the explanation, essentially, of like, oh, that's why Saturn just died spontaneously before.
Yes. Also gives us our, sort of tease to why Luffy at some point may have to fight Shanks, because Shanks can still be controlled by Imu if he's close enough. So, worth noting that.
I was wondering about that. Isn't that the same arm that got bit off?
Oh, it is. I wonder if that... Interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Is that a workaround?
That'd be great if he was like, oh, this is bullshit. Oh, it's bullshit. Yeah, that's pretty good. We go back to the fight. Loki is now just fighting Harold. Loki's like confused. He's like, what do I even react to first? The fact that you do not seem to die? The fact that you're trying to kill me and the guards? What is happening, basically? And Harold is trying to explain. He's like, look, I made a mistake. I will lose my mind. Loki, you need to do exactly as I say. You need to tell the people of Elbath exactly what happened here, that I killed my own guards, that I used joining the world government as an excuse to do their dirty bidding, and that ultimately that led to me where I am now, and that, you have to handle me. You have to kill me. And Loki's like, wait, you mean they tricked you? Like, all this information about the world government you're telling me? They never had any intention of honoring it? And he's like, yes. You need to feed Loki the treasure of Elbath. With the power of God, I will be unstoppable, and Elbath being enslaved by the government is the very antithesis of that dream. That would make me the worst king in Elbath's history. So, you must kill me and take the throne, Loki. Tell the people what a fool I was. I don't care what my reputation is once I'm dead. But all that matters is Elbath's future. Am I wrong? And he screams out one last time for Loki, saying he's the only one who could do this. And at that point, the control was taken over. He is now like fully kind of fighting back and not really resisting the control anymore. And he still refers to himself as Herald, but it is still very clearly kind of Emu's influence speaking through him. He's saying, oh, no one can leave this room now. I must kill everyone here, basically. I've got to handle this. Ja Rule tries to like kind of fight against him to stop Herald from going after the fruit. And in one of the most savage moves, Herald just takes the sword that he got stabbed with and is like, you gave me this sword years ago, Ja Rule. You can have it back. Sunk, and just throws it straight through his head, as we saw before.
Someone saved me.
It looks like Herald is going to immediately go after Loki and stop him from getting to the treasure first, but then Gabon and Shanks show up and both strike Herald and kind of stop him for a brief moment. But he notes, like, hey, the body's undying. Harold's like, yes, Shanks, the undying body is a wonderful thing. I feel superior to all other life. And we end the chapter with Loki entering in a secret room, seeing the treasure that contains the storied relic of Elbath, the forbidden devil fruit. And the chapter ends with someone throwing a hammer at him. I don't know who this is, but someone throws a hammer at him.
Well, the hammer is lying on the ground immediately next to the chest.
I could kind of see that. That was weird art,
And
but
it
yes,
starts
it is
to
behind.
vibrate.
Because I was going to say, isn't that Loki's hammer?
So, yeah, finally getting more stuff with Harold and Loki. I do like Loki's reaction to everything in this chapter because it's like, what is going on? Like Harold is like telling him all this really important stuff, and it's like, this is a lot to dump on somebody in one go. He's like, wait, I have to kill you, and it's a good thing? What is happening? So I did appreciate that. We get a lot of implications of stuff that could have happened. But most importantly, hey, we're finally back to where the flashback opened at. Isn't that nice? So
Yeah, I'm not like, I'm trying to stay focused on this flashback now that we're in it and see the small pieces that I feel like Oda is placing to create. I think, Oda's very good at putting details into a story that help make it emotional. And right now, as I'm reading it, I'm very curious how we get to the point where Loki becomes the most hated man in all of this kingdom. And the answer is going to be, well, everyone else is dead. Eventually, Harold will be dead, and the only other person who's alive is Ja Rule, who just got a sword stabbed through his head, so he doesn't even know what's going on. And I think
That's
that is
true.
something is going to... I feel like there is a way you can emotionally build to that'll be satisfying. I spoke, I think, last week about how, like, our last chapter about how, this hasn't necessarily felt like the quality of Oda's typical flashbacks. And my hope is that we might still get at least a little bit of a glimpse of that going forward. But I am very curious how all this ends in a place where Loki is the most hated man in the world.
yeah, I mean, he is basically,
Or
like you said, the only giant who can actually, like, say what happened after this point.
And maybe he's not for his own reasons.
Yeah, and already nobody likes him, so who knows what his decision is. I have grown to like Loki since he first showed up, so now that he's more heavily involved, I'm a little bit more optimistic about what's going on in One Piece. So, yeah, maintain this focus, please.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Quinn, that's it for the manga this week. What was your favorite chapter?
Of all the chapters, what one was my favorite? It's a great question. And I think it's going to be probably Spy Family. I really enjoyed Spy Family this week. I thought it was a fun chapter. I loved, all the Anya jokes of her, like, parachuting, just being like, wee, and then as the like, again, they're like, don't you have a thing to do? Didn't you
got a thing to
go?
do. You got to go inside and help your teacher.
Yeah, like
No focus.
I thought it was very funny. The humor, the like finding out how we got that shot of Henderson with his face like that. Like all of that just worked really well, and it was also satisfying. It was nice seeing him kind of come to the realization that he's like, nope, I still have a job to do teaching these kids, so I'm going to keep doing it.
I think we're gonna go with Ichi the Witch this week. I just really like that flashback sequence with Descarus. I love the little snippets of the trials that we get to see. I love the dynamic between Descarus and the lethal shot magic. Just really cool to see this little girl interacting with this weird, biblically accurate angel being who takes an interest in her. And then getting to see her, unleash some of the stuff, and then the emotional turmoil of Libro showing up. There were a lot of good chapters this week, though, I have to say. Blue Box was good. Chainsaw Man was fun. Dandadan was fun. Someone Hertz was really fun. Like I said, even New Exorcist was kind of good. And Akane-banashi also. So there was just a lot of really good chapters this week.
Yeah. I think my character of the week is going to be Descaros, just because the chapter really was designed to have us be like, oh, Descaros is super cool and also has like layers to why she is the way she is. It's very interesting to see where that's going to go, but also just like the lead and build up to that 2-page spread of just showing her just massacring these like this army of zombies. Like it's just executed so well.
As you said before, Shishido is the coolest character in Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi now. He just is. So he is my MVP this week. The growing a leather jacket moment, the calling your finishing move teen spirit and shooting an anarchy symbol out of your mouth, eating his own damage, and then getting your enemy to fall in love with you. He's so cool.
Honestly, now that you say it, I might have to reconsider Shishido as well, because he really does. Yeah, I think my character is weak is also Shishido. I was giving a lot to Descaros because of like the emotional weight of it, but Shishido did really firmly supplant himself as like, yeah, I rule in this series. I'm one of the coolest characters. Sorry, I shouldn't work. It almost feels like we're trying too hard to make him cool, but fuck, it just works. I don't know what to tell you.
What our audience have to say?
The audience picked Spy Family as their chapter of the week, and then Descaros from Ichi the Witch as character of the week. So,
gotcha.
Good stuff.
All right. That is gonna do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. If you want more Weekly Manga Recap content, we have stuff posted on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com in MP3 form. You can also get it on your podcast feed, iTunes, Spotify, and those kind of places. Video version is also available on youtube.com/Weekly Manga Recap, and if you watch that, you'll get to see the opening sequence done by Milo Jack Stillitz and Wednesdaydale Cheddar. As well, you might see some title cards done by Steve Mann, whose artwork you can check out by searching for Steve Mann Art all across the internet. Wherever you watch or listen to the podcast, you will find a link to the Google Doc and the Discord server. So check those out. We have a great Discord community that discusses the chapters as they come out, discusses the series that has been chosen for the recap, for the recommendation rather. And also, there's just usual hangouts. There's a Tuesday night hangout that happens all the time that we kind of ended up like also scheduling for on this day because we're going to be busy tomorrow. But yeah, check out our wonderful community, and also just check out the doc maintained by NedgeX3i that keeps track of all the stuff that we've taken as recommendations, the MVP and favorite series voting, questions for future Q&A episodes, all sorts of stuff. And we also have a Patreon if you want even more Weekly Manga Recap, and if you want to support the show financially. Patreon.com/Weekly Manga Recap, where we have a monthly bonus episode and other goodies. And that's gonna do it there.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Hope everybody enjoyed themselves. We won't be recording on our usual Wednesday because it's Christmas Eve, and the next time we'll talk to you all will be after Christmas. So for everybody who's listening to this podcast who's celebrating that holiday, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. I hope you watch Muppet Christmas Carol.
Watched it this past weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in this weird situation because normally it's like a Christmas Eve tradition for me, where I'm not going to be celebrating Christmas with my boyfriend until next week, and it's like a part of my brain that's like, can I watch Muppet Christmas Carol twice? Can I like turn this into two? Like I'm gonna watch it on Christmas Eve and then the eve before we celebrate Christmas together. Can I do that? Is that allowed? And then I remembered I'm an adult with my own like willpower. So
Agency,
I could just watch it 100 times. No one can actually stop me. Well,
this is too much power for one woman to have, Quinn.
All right. Well, that's going to do it. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.